Hey, what's up everyone? Chip Walters here, and today I want to share with you our latest add-on, ChalkStyle Pro. This add-on creates beautiful ambient occlusion wireframe renderings in just seconds. It's between 10 and 100 times faster than Blender's own freestyle renders, and even better, you only need press a single button to see your render. And the coolest part is you can adjust line weights for both wireframe and outlines, as well as control the relative darkness of the ambient occlusion pass. And this is after the render has completed. And new to ChalkStyle Pro is the ability to relight your render after you've created it. Yes, you heard that right. You can actually adjust the lighting in your render after it's completed. So how does this work so fast? The secret is in the fact that ChalkStyle Pro creates 4 different OpenGL render passes. The first is a simple AO render, the second is the outline render at twice the original resolution. The third is a wireframe render, also at twice the resolution, and lastly we create an EXR normal render, which is used for relighting the model. We automatically create these renders, then create a new ChalkStyle scene and load the compositor with special nodes, and then connect them to the 4 different renderers. Then we add some custom group node goodness, and you've got yourself a super AO ChalkStyle wireframe render. So let's take a look at how this all works. So this is the basic ChalkStyle Pro interface. Here it shows over here as CS Pro. So first we will set our camera the way we want the view to look. Here we are. Something like this. And once we're ready, we'll hit the Render ChalkStyle Pro button. 1/1000, 2/1000, 3/1000. And at 3/1000 you see that we have the render complete. But there's a lot of extraneous lines and other things interfering with the view. So let's go back to it. We just go down to this output properties and we hit this return to original scene and layout workspace. Now we will turn all these overlays off, and then we'll press the Render ChalkStyle Pro button, and it will this time render without any of those lines. And let's drop it in here. And now you can see this is our rendering. And you can see at the default settings, it looks pretty good. The first thing to notice is that we have this little normal ball here. And I can actually adjust the shading of this rendering by just clicking on this ball. And it'll actually completely change all the shadings that goes on. And the reason for that is that we've rendered out this normal EXR pass. That's pretty cool. And when we find a view that we like, all we need to do is hit the F12 button, and we're going to re-render this and see our new rendering. We can save it from here. Now let's take a look at some of the other features that we have here. And first we'll go into this ChalkStyle render settings. And you can see that if I adjust the brightness, you'll see that underneath we're getting a much darker ambient occlusion pass. And I'm going to actually adjust this to be almost normal. And I can adjust this harsh shading also to give it more of a softer blur for the shadows, or a very tight edge for the shadows. And as you can see, I can also adjust the wireframe strength. So it's at 1.5. I'm going to turn it completely off. Now we don't show any of the internal wireframe structure. We're just looking at the outsides. And the outline strength can be bumped up to 10, which will make the outline even thicker. And if we want to, we can even invert the image and we can create a negative. So by turning the outline strength all the way down, we get just the basic ambient occlusion rendering, and then I can adjust that again with this little ball, and I can create a different kind of render, if something like that, and we get this type of a render. So it's quite a bit different. So that's basically how it works. So another way to use this is you could actually go back to the original scene. And in this case, we're going to go down to the exposure, and I'm going to set it to something like 3. So it's very light. That way the dark lines will show up on it nicely. I'll hit the F12 button, render it out, save it, close it. And then I'll go back to my ChalkStyle scene in my compositing tab. And over here in the AO image, I'm going to load that file directly up. And that's it right there. You can see there's where it came in. So now that we have this in here, I'm going to turn my lighting amount completely off. I don't want the lighting on there. And I'll come over here and I'll turn the brightness completely down. And the AO use custom underlay, I'll turn that completely up. And now you can see that we have the underlay showing through. I'll turn the harsh shading down too, so we can see the all amount. So now we have this underlay that we just rendered coming through below. And if we hit the F12 key, we'll have a nice render showing a wireframe superimposed over the underlay image. I can also adjust this AOU's custom underlay back all the way, and it'll make it a grayscale image. And at that point, I can adjust the brightness and the strength, and then I can hit the F12. And I have this image where I could read the decals and see the rest of the object. If at any time you want to go back to the default settings, you can always just remove the chalk style scene. Here we have the chalk style scene. Here's the original scene. We can just come up here and hit X, and that takes us out of the chalk style scene. It's gone now. It no longer exists. We'll go back to layout. Here's our layout. I'm going to set this back to 0. And with the camera selected, we'll go ahead and hit the Render Chalk Style Pro button again. And here's our rendered image. And now we can go through here, and you'll notice that the background, this backdrop, if we hit the fit button, we'll fit it to the view, is the old image, even though we have the new settings. So what's going on here? Well, in this case, Blender's confused about this viewer node. So what we need to do is just delete it. And with Node Wrangler, we can just click on Mix, and then Control Shift and click on Mix, and now we'll have our viewer set up. There's not a real good way for me to fix this that I know of. So if you delete a chalk style scene and bring it back in, you're just going to have to delete this viewer and use Node Wrangler to add it back in. And then once we're here, we can then, of course, it's going to be a live update all the time. So there we have it. One last thing to mention is this button down here, Return to Original Scene and Layout Workspace, is really important if you're using the chalk style scene, because it basically does the same thing as switching to the original scene and going to layout. And that's what it does. So if you like this, jump on over to Gumroad or Blender Market and grab yourself a copy of Chalk Style Pro. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you online. Bye.